And
Thank you very much.
Christine, thank you. Yes, speak to you soon. Christine Malnich is back again in our mini studio. So, Christine, I'm very happy that the circle has almost concluded. Just to follow up on what was heard. So we heard about where the project is in 2024. What are the main priorities? Can you maybe, for those who maybe are dialing in just now, do 3 points on what are the key takeaways that from those sessions covering global project progress and engagement opportunities, so what the listeners could take for them after this webinar?
As we heard today, so Rail Baltica project is really, really big project, mega infrastructure project, and very complex one. The activities are ongoing in all 3 countries, and different kind of activities. In Latvia, for example, now the focus is on construction of passenger stations. We are about to start mainline construction. Similarly, you heard what is going on in Estonia and in Lithuania. So many things going on. We have very good counterparts in all 3 countries, very good companies, suppliers, contractors who help us to move ahead. And we have to keep in mind that we have this target 2030 to achieve, and I'm sure we will succeed. But for that still, we cannot let the pace slow down. We have to stay focused, committed, engage everyone as much as you can. We have to make sure that we have stable cash flow for our investments, that we have enough resources, different type of resources that we need, and then we can definitely succeed. Please stay in touch, stay close with Rail Baltica, and provide your support, and then I'm sure we will reach target 2030.
Thank you. So once again, all the materials will be available on our sites, website, and social media. Recordings will be available. We are very happy that the interest is still there. We see that there are still viewers in this webinar, and we would like to wrap up with a sort of, I would call it a dessert, definitely a priority of Rail Baltica project, topic that has on which we have been working on as a project, but there has not been actually that much public communication on where we are. So I would like that Christina, you as the leader of the topic, introduce, so what is the role of Rail Baltica in sustainable development? And I know that you will have a great group of people joining you, both as presenters and as members of discussions. I understand that we will start with Stefano, our team member, so maybe you can just give a couple of intro words, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Signe. Yes, and let us proceed now with quite new topic, I would say, that has not been discussed much yet in Rail Baltica, and this is our contribution to sustainable development, how Rail Baltica can and already contributes to sustainable development. Nowadays, sustainable development is considered to be one of the main global challenges which world faces today. And rail is the greenest and cleanest mode of transport. And thus, rail is able to create sustainable lifestyles and sustainable economies. And we are happy that we have Rail Baltica project that will definitely contribute to sustainable development. And today we would like to introduce you how Rail Baltica can help and is helping and contributes to sustainable development. So today we will have a panel discussion with also some short presentations provided by our panelists. And I have asked two of my colleagues to join me today. Here in the studio we have Iveta Jägere. She is spatial planning and environmental team leader at the joint venture RB Rail. And then online we have my close colleague Stefano Manzo, who is transport economist and currently also project manager of sustainability study at the joint venture RB Rail. And in addition, we have asked one of our consultants to join us also on this panel discussion, Camilla Wu, who is Vice President of CPCS Consulting Company and currently working with us closely on this topic. For introduction, I would like to inform you that last year we launched the study which would help us to understand and also promote sustainable design, sustainable construction, and sustainable operations of Rail Baltica project. So the study was launched with the aim to define sustainability principles that we already follow and would like to follow in the future. Also to indicate the good examples, good things that we already do in Rail Baltica project, contributing to sustainable development. And also we would like to create a matrix that would help us to monitor our contribution to sustainable development, so we can assess the project's performance from this perspective. And now, as the first speaker, I would like to ask my colleague Stefano to emphasize and to explain one of the aspects that helps us to reach these sustainability goals, and namely Rail Baltica being electrified railway in the future, how we can contribute to sustainable development with the usage of energy in the future. So please, Stefano.
Yeah, Christina, thank you. Thank you very much. I'm sharing the video. Hope you can see my presentation and you can hear me well. Yes?
Yes.
Super, super. Well, the straight answer to your question and the topic of this presentation is renewable energy. Actually, in this short talk, I will provide some insight on our view of how renewable energy, well, let's say what role renewable energy can play in the Baltica project, with a specific emphasis on how it will help implementing sustainability principles. Baltica has like a different sort of policy in terms of sustainability, but certainly one that we cover, Baltica Global Project Green Vision. It encompasses different areas, several areas. The one in particular that is relevant for this, let's say, short talk and the scope of this short talk is the point number 3 that you can see highlighted in the right part of the screen, and that is about sustainable usage of energy sources during construction and operation phases. In fact, as you mentioned, Christina, the plans for Baltica is to create like a fully electrified infrastructure network based and powered on renewable energy. This, as we'll show later, currently there is, let's say, the extra demand that in terms of renewable energy that Baltica will create based on this commitment will make necessary increased investment in renewable energy in the Baltics. And this will unlock a number of benefits related to sustainability, not only the most, let's say, straightforward, that are those in terms of environmental sustainability related to reduction of greenhouse emissions, but also a number of socio-economic benefits that are directly or indirectly related to this investment unlocked in renewable energy industry in Baltics. In fact, as I mentioned before, Baltica has been planned to be fully electrified and fully powered by renewable energy. It is planned to consume around, well, it's forecasted to need around 290k megawatt per year. And this actually corresponds to an increase in the demand of energy in the Baltics of around 3% across the three countries. Currently, such excess in the supply is not present. Therefore, we expect that this extra demand will induce investment in the renewable energy sector in the Baltics, particularly, not only, but particularly on offshore wind energy. This overall will support a shift towards sustainability, for instance, by increasing the supply of the energy mix in favor of renewables energy, which of course will be available not only for Baltica, but also for other industry projects in the Baltics. Of course, is aligned with European Union policy with respect to reducing greenhouse gas emissions. We reduce dependency of the Baltic area from of the three Baltic countries from external energy sources. And of course, we'll increase investment in renewable technologies, which in turn, as I mentioned, will have a number of potential benefits, starting from increased research in funding research in this sector, creating new jobs, etc. Based on the projections in terms of services offered by Baltica and demand for passengers and freight, we calculated that Baltica has the potential to reduce demand for fossil fuels in the transportation sector in the Baltics between 1.5 and 3%. This depends, of course, from low and high projections, and overall induced investment of around 350 millions, which as I meant will be needed in order to compensate for the extra demand as compared to supply as it is now in the Baltics for renewable energies. How to get there? Well, let's say we don't have yet a roadmap, but certainly we have clear ideas on how to get to this point of having enough renewable energy. So what we call renewable energy strategy, based primarily on two pillars. The first one is to ensure long-term reliable supply of renewable energy. This, of course, will be based on a strict collaboration with the industry and renewable energy providers, as well as potentially to also invest to generate own supply, for instance, through solar panels. And as I mentioned before, Baltica is meant to be fully electrified infrastructure. So this energy is not only meant to power locomotives that will carry our trains, but also the overall Baltica infrastructure. So including stations operation, infrastructure maintenance facilities, and such. So to sum up this short insight on the topic, ensuring a long-term reliable supply of renewable energy. It's fundamental, we believe it's fundamental for Baltica to achieve the overall Baltica sustainability strategy. This must be based on two pillars that I just mentioned: strong partnership with renewable energy providers, as well as potentially investing in infrastructure to generate, let's say, own supply of renewable energy, like as I mentioned, solar parks and others, which in turn may also be a positive impact for Baltica as an infrastructure in the measure that potentially excess of energy can be sold back to the grid. And as I mentioned, this will unlock investment, will support investment in the renewable energy industry in the Baltics. And this may have a broad range of potential, let's say, wider economic benefits. Supporting research, I already mentioned, generating expertise in local, reducing dependency on external energy providers, and many others. And with this, I conclude this short introduction on what is going to be, how do we see, let's say, the role of renewable energy in the Baltica project.
Thank you, Stefano. That was really a tangible example of Rail Baltica's contribution to sustainable development by using renewable energy source. And just to remind you, Stefano already mentioned in his speech that in total we're planning to increase energy consumption in each of the Baltic countries by 3%. And those 3% then should come from renewable energy sources. And by this, of course, Rail Baltica will incentivize investments in renewable energy. This is our target in upcoming future. Now I would like to zoom out a bit from one concrete example mentioned to a broader spectrum of sustainability. And here I would like to ask our consultant, Camille Wu from CPCS, to give us their view, how they see the role of Rail Baltica in sustainable development.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Christina, for the opportunity to participate in today's keynote and panel discussion. My name is Camille Wu. I'm a VP with CBCS. We are a global management consulting firm focused on infrastructure advisory, and we have had the tremendous privilege of helping Rail Baltica with a study that covers sustainable design, construction, and operations. So I'm thrilled to share the role of Rail Baltica in sustainable development with you today. Here on this first slide, I have shared a few example EU sustainability targets for rail. Thank you. Because it's first important to know and to set the context for sustainability. And so what I want to emphasize first is that Rail Baltica is a sustainable project by itself. We know that rail creates at least 10 times less carbon emissions per passenger than a car, and even more so when compared to air travel. And so by transporting people and goods by rail instead of cars and trucks, Rail Baltica is able to make a fundamental difference in sustainability. And because Rail Baltica is a planned high-speed solution, it can be even more effective at promoting modal shift and getting more people to more places faster than ever before. Thus, we see that the current EU priorities for rail include objectives such as promoting sustainable rail transport, supporting the use of digital technologies, and improving accessibility to cross-border ticketing. And Rail Baltica can contribute to this through the application of its digital technologies, implementation of rail infrastructure, and better future connections between the Baltic nations and the European rail network, as well as among Baltic nations. Of course, as you progress down the timeline, the benefits of the project will be more fully realized once the project is operational, and ties in very well with the EU sustainability targets, such as increasing rail freight traffic and high-speed rail traffic, as well as reducing emissions from transport and ultimately achieving carbon neutrality by 2050. On the next slide, I'm just shifting now to Rail Baltica and its direct contributions to sustainability. We focus firstly on the UN's Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs. And as you can see on the left-hand side here, there are varied impacts that Rail Baltica is making already and can continue to make in regards to sustainability. Now, most people focus perhaps on the environment when they think of sustainability, but it is a very broad spectrum of topics that sustainability ultimately covers. And the basic premises of sustainability is to meet the needs of the present without compromising the needs of the future. And so with these 17 UN SDGs, there are at least 4 goals that are directly relevant to Rail Baltica. And these cover things like industry, innovation, and infrastructure, sustainable cities and communities, climate action, and partnership or goals. So the Rail Baltica Global Project will promote better connectivity and mobility across the Baltic countries and ultimately with the European rail network. It'll fundamentally change the way people travel for work, school, health, tourism, leisure, etc. And it will also be a zero-emission railway that is fully electrified and powered by renewable energy. And so these are bold commitments that address the climate emergency that we're facing in regards to goal number 13. So you can see that Rail Baltica is more than just a transport project, but it can promote sustainability across all of these different areas: environmental, social, economic, technology, and other areas. So I alluded to the Rail Baltica green vision on the last slide, but I do think that one thing that is commendable as perhaps an example of how Rail Baltica is contributing to sustainable development is the zero impact study that Rail Baltica worked on, which has 7 core priorities. And these include committing the railway to zero environmental impact during operational and maintenance phases, being resilient to climate change through reliable infrastructure, supporting the use of sustainable energy sources, and of course, selecting environmentally friendly construction material. And in cases where mitigation is not possible, to work through environmental compensation measures. But also in all things to strive for innovative solutions. And this is the benefit of a greenfield alignment that Rail Baltica has, is to work through best practices and to start from the ground up rather than needing to retrofit an existing solution. And lastly, to ensure that employees continue to be engaged and are aware of the importance of environmental sustainability as well. Now I've touched on many topics already, and I'm happy to answer questions, but also I thought I would first share some of the examples of Rail Baltica's key impact areas that cover design, construction, operations. So the environmental sustainability aspects are of course very critical, and Rail Baltica does these very well already with regards to things like air, water, soil, biodiversity, and so on. But there are also other topics that Rail Baltica is working through, such as community development, social equity and inclusion, health and safety, technology, as well as on the corporate side of things, the stakeholder relations, corporate ESG, and sustainable procurement. And I know that the project is working towards these areas to make sure that the project follows best practices and can also make a substantial impact to the sustainable development agenda. Thank you. I'll conclude my opening remarks here.
Thank you, Camilla. Thank you for this good insight. And indeed, as you just explained, sustainability, when we think about sustainability, actually, first thing that comes into our mind is environment and impact on environment. But there are also different areas of which we need to think and pay our attention how we impact those as well. You mentioned industry, you mentioned society, you mentioned also economy, cultural heritage, many different areas, also corporate governance, the way we manage and govern the project. It all has impact on sustainability and the way we act. As you say, with a goal to maintain the environment in which we live also in the future. Yes, although the study is still in process and we are still analyzing and trying to identify all those good things that we already do in Rail Baltica. But I would like to ask you, Iveta, now, how can we make sure that those commitments that we would like to define for ourselves, that they would really become reality at the end?
Yeah, a very simple but actually at the same time very complex question, so the answer will be also the same, a combination. First of all, the approach for the sustainability has to be systemic. It has to have clear understanding between all the involved parties, and specifically that's important for such a big scale project as Rail Baltica is, where there's so many involved parties. Upper level, senior level, and to each employee, engagement and understanding of the principles and as well as the goals. So this cannot be stressed out more than it has to be stressed. So this is a very important thing. And at the same time, also historically looking at sustainability, when it still was seen as something more voluntary than something as a new normal, such things as culture, organizational culture, values, passion, those also have to be stressed, because it can't work in a way as it should be if it's not coming from the heart. So it has to come also from the heart of the company. But above all those, I think I will want to mention additionally too, and especially we talk about the business environment and suppliers, and this language is understandable for all of us involved. It's the demand. Is there a demand for sustainable approach and achieving the results? And is there a benefit? Because that's also a good balance in all life areas, that we have to have regulatory enactments or requirements that ask and demand from us to do something, but there also has to be this carrot or some kind of incentive what we get back from it. And we now, and by saying we, I mean the wider also Europe context, we live in a rapidly changing environment for sustainability practices, and those are brought because of regulatory requirements, also regarding how and in what way, and how in a standardized and comparable way we will report on our sustainability performances. So the demand is there because now we all the possible suppliers and existing ones, we are linked and entangled in a kind of invisible network where data produced as output data by someone become input data for somebody else. So we need to cooperate, we need to access the data from others, and we actually benefit from our suppliers and partners from their success. So this, I kind of think that in a very near future, when also the sustainability reports and good data, that will be data-driven analysis of performance, not only in a sustainability aspects, but also economically and financially and time resource effective use way, when those benefits will be shown and we will learn each one from one another. And at that point, I kind of think that this is going up by spiral, is just non-stoppable at the moment. For sustainability commitments and the way how we do it, this is a very good time. So I think we are also very timely revisiting our sustainability goals and having also this discussion here in our webinar.
Thank you, Yvette. And I think you emphasized very important things that that caught my eye. So the willingness actually to commit to sustainability principles, but also then the way we implement and how we evaluate and monitor our performance, how well we do. And here I would like to ask Camille, you have experience not only with Rail Baltica but also with other projects worldwide. So can you please tell us what lessons actually can Rail Baltica draw from the market or from experiences elsewhere, and also vice versa, what the market could learn from Rail Baltica being a mega project, being a first kind of project maybe to implement also some novelties, some innovations. So yeah, if you could share your experiences.
Thank you, Christina. And I think you've articulated it very well, that there is much to be learned from one another. I think from the market's perspective, because Rail Baltica is a greenfield high-speed rail project, you're right in that it doesn't suffer from those older infrastructure issues that plague other railways, and it has the ability to really implement at the very start more sustainable practices. And so this is an area where I think the market can really learn from how Rail Baltica chooses to implement various solutions, both from a sustainable design, construction, and operations perspective. I think at the same time, the market brings a great diversity of expertise and experiences from across Europe and around the world that I think are also very helpful for promoting sustainability and making sure that Rail Baltica is able to capture those best practices from the market. and continuing to learn from what other railways do. I do think that sustainability is defined somewhat differently for every single railway. And so Rail Baltica is crafting its own path in this regard, and it will be very interesting for the market to continue to learn from the project. I think one of the key aspects for the market to assist in is as Rail Baltica progresses with its implementation phase effectively, but also makes a successful transition from construction to operations. The operational planning aspect is a key activity for sustainability as well. I think Rail Baltica is already implementing much of the sustainability practices in its construction, the environmental compliance, and making sure that all aspects of the project are following the regulations to the best possible ability. But there's also the operational side to ensure that the railway has good customer service, high degree of safety, monitoring and improvement, sustainability performance, good maintenance practices, and that sort of thing. And in all of those areas, I think there are methods to do things sustainably that should be recognized as well.
Thank you, Camilla. And just to continue actually on this topic, I would like to turn to you, Iveta, and ask also to you a question. You've been with the project for quite some time already, and you have followed closely the design of Rail Baltica infrastructure. Can you please tell us some other good examples that you have experienced which that already now demonstrate our commitment to sustainable development?
As an environmentalist, well, the first idea come to my mind, of course, to give some examples from that field, how we tackle environmental impacts and how we try to mitigate them through various tools. However, maybe understanding also the context and who are here and listening, I will then tackle more practical ones about, for example, procurement. To go into detail and to be very specific and technical, we can share that information in another form, but just to understand the principles. So each time a procurement is being conducted, also sustainability aspects are being taken into account and considered and tailored specifically for the goods or services that we procure, as well as looking at the market and what are the opportunities and possibilities. For just one example, I would tell how we tackle this in construction procurements. Of course, they are managed in different way in different countries, and for some they're big contracts, and sometimes they're smaller ones for just structures. But what unifies them, that there are technical requirements for construction regarding environment, and those define how and to what level we have to manage specific environmental aspects during construction, and they require from the contractor to develop environmental management system of their own, but with defined principles that we ask them to do and included in this environmental management plan. And those include to conduct sustainable construction approach, to tackle and propose solutions for energy efficiency, to look into and to foster and to enable possibilities for the use of greener fuels in the machinery that's used on-site, off-site, also to look into, if needed, other life cycle assessment, recyclable material use. So there can be even to that specifics in procurement's defined criteria as to demonstrate green the use of recycled material percentage, or in the steel, in the concrete. So each of the procurements can be a bit different, but there are specific requirements that we follow and check. And now the biggest challenge, or how to say, work for all of us together, is to specifically measure and to get back the information when the construction is ongoing, and to manage that information in a way that it's comparable, that it's efficiently, we can take it, we can analyze, we can get the data, and it's compatible also by technology. So all of those things are now on our table, and we are considering how to do it faster and in a more efficient way, because there will be so many involved parties in all of this sustainability performance. We have to understand how to better, faster, cost-efficient way analyze the data and measure the performance. So it's not only about the requirements, it's of course following how it's been implemented and what we do then with the data and how we compare it with our goals.
When we did analysis in which we looked at environmental impact Rail Baltica creates also during construction period, we noticed that actually we do create some negative impact, for example, in terms of noise pollution or air pollution. Are you aware of any concrete mitigation measures that we implement on construction sites to minimize that impact on environment?
Well, of course, there are measures that are being taken and they are already embedded in the design so that the infrastructure that's delivered at the end, in the future, intensity of the use of infrastructure will not lead to impacts that cause a negative effect on society, on nature, as well as or many aspects of environment. So that also includes, of course, building noise barriers and minimizing the impact of vibration by installing dampers and various other things. But there is also this noise, vibration, and all other nuisances during construction that are important to be mitigated and taken into account during the construction phase. Though during construction, it's also a high obligation of the one who is performing the construction to have in place management plans for how to manage also noise, air and dust from construction sites, and to react to any complaints that could be received during the construction. Because it's also very important not only to think that your performance is not exceeding or creating nuisance, but also to listen to the local communities and understand, do you need some corrective actions? Because this is a very, very big project, and we understand that we are creating something new all along 3 countries, and we all understand the benefit of the project, but that is quite a long time while we construct, and so we have to live alongside we as the ones who will be constructing and the local communities who are there, who are patiently waiting also for this infrastructure to be built. So there are measures during construction and also that will be remaining after the infrastructure is delivered, so that there is no breaches of legislative requirements. Yes.
Thank you, Iveta. And Camilla, I would like to turn to you again. You being an external party, so to say, in this project, an external consultant, so you are able to look at Rail Baltica performance from a side a bit, although you're very much closely now working with us together on sustainability matters, but still, I would like to ask you how you see and what would be your recommendations for Rail Baltica implementers, contractors, suppliers. So, but in general, what would be those main directions that Rail Baltica would need to focus in a way to foster sustainable development and to contribute the most, I would say?
Thank you, Christine. I think Jovita, apologies, has already covered very well the various environmental sustainability directions that the project is undertaking. And there's already a very concerted focus on the sustainable development from each of the implementing bodies on the construction side to sustainability. And so I think it's important for Rail Baltica to continue this trajectory and to advance and as she mentioned, to track that data and to establish common metrics that can be routinely monitored and evaluated and improved upon throughout this implementation phase. The other aspect to this, in order to more concretely foster sustainable development, is to continue to integrate other types of sustainability metrics into the procurement processes so that sustainability is clearly embedded into the expectations of contractors, perhaps outside of environmental compliance, but also also in some of the social dimensions that may be important for particular procurements. I think on the social dimensions of the project, this direction becomes more important. So for instance, from a social equity dimension, making sure that the project adequately considers inclusion and accessibility, integrates consideration of marginalized passenger segments into the customer value proposition so that the project can adequately serve students, low-income residents, reduce mobility passengers, etc. And I think also the other area that's really critical, both during implementation and beyond, is making sure that the project is maximizing the benefits of technology and integrating technology into the solution. I know Rail Baltica has already done some work in this space, particularly through the corridor synergies work, and is considering aspects such as the telecommunications, the IT and digital infrastructure, and the energy infrastructure in order to monitor for sustainability as well. On the technology front, we call this the dig once principle, where we want to ensure that we are doing things sustainably and preemptively making sure that all of these technologies that are necessary for the next phase are considered during the implementation phase. In general, however, I think Rail Baltica is already moving in the right direction. And as part of our sustainability study, it is establishing those metrics that will enable all of the organizations to work closely together to monitor and evaluate those different dimensions of sustainability and to make sure that we are making progress in those dimensions and improving on them over time.
Thank you, Camille. And I believe we have our suppliers, current and future, also still with us in the audience. I hope so. So my question is now to you, Iveta. What do you think then what our suppliers in the future can expect from Rail Baltica in light of this growing emphasis on sustainability principles, on sustainable practices?
If in few words, I would say, and this applies also to us, and that in the same manner applies to suppliers and everybody now in the context of also new sustainability reporting. I think that the aspects of transparency, accountability, and possibility to measure the performance, those aspects are manifesting now, and that, of course, are impacting also the way and practices of most of the businesses in Europe or who want to work in Europe, and as well as us. So these three words, accountable, measurable, and transparent environmental and sustainability performance, is something that is very crucial, and in that direction we will be working, and most likely many of our partners. The way is, of course, how we do that and how we come to the point where that is not complex, that becomes easy, that we can share also the information easy, and that we can make this good combination and balance of sustainable and smart. So we are currently, as mentioned several times today, revisiting and going through our sustainability policy and understanding what are the enablers, what are the tools that can be used for that, and what are the specific goals, what we want to achieve. And several already mentioned by colleague Vu aspects emerged there, and we will be looking into them. One of them, of course, is use of technology and digitalization, doing that smart. So we are researching in that direction also for ourselves, and will most likely welcome all the examples and good examples of our suppliers, who most likely in several future years will show us how to do that very smartly, how to track the information rapidly, cost effectively, as I mentioned, and also time effectively, so that it can be just grabbed there and used for assessment and as well as for reporting. Such thing as procurement, of course, also emerges. So I personally think that with each year, procurements will strengthen and strengthen the green criteria and criteria that are oriented towards carbon reduction, as well as circular economy and recyclable material use, because it's all across the market. And from those parallel activities that are currently ongoing. We are working in a Rail Baltica family involving also all partners who are implementing this project in 3 countries on climate management and monitoring plan, what would be a document through which we also understand and tackle how exactly what measures we apply and how we do the climate proofing for all the stages of the project implementation. And we are deeply looking into all the practices and possibilities to manage decarbonization during construction, which is a very important topic also currently, specifically also for infrastructure construction projects. So this is also one direction where we're looking into defining those practices, measurable ones, transparent and countable ones. How can we track down our carbon footprint also during construction? So various things that are ongoing, needed, and will most likely affect us all because of this, I would say, beautiful time we're in, when the demand is created for sustainability, when clear targets are put also for the Europe, you name it, just the carbon reduction targets for Europe, they're very ambitious. So at the 2050, we all are there, and we all have to be there, showing our commitment and how we are in a credible pathway to the carbon neutrality. So I think that those will be the things most actual for all of us here in Europe in upcoming years.
Thank you, Iveta, and I think you summarized very well the key points that we all need to remember. So transparency, accountability, monitoring, reporting, and by introducing these principles on in many different areas and aspects in our daily operations, this is the way to succeed and really to make sure that we do contribute to sustainable development, that we do less negative impact with our activities. And Rail Baltica is a complex infrastructure, so it's not only the railway itself, but it is also digital solutions, technologies, services that we design, the integration with the environment in which we place Rail Baltica. So the impact is, I would say, can be felt on many different areas, and we have to make sure that we create more positive impact and we really reduce the negative impact as much as it is possible, especially in the construction period. As I already mentioned in the beginning, we are in the process of sustainability study. We expect the study to be completed somewhere around midsummer this year, and we would expect some new also principles defined and introduced in Rail Baltica project, as well as indicators that would allow us to measure our performance, how well we stick to our own targets and principles. So this is yet to come, so please stay in touch with us, stay close, and let's build Rail Baltica together. So thank you for today, and see you in the next events.